Okay, Ness, this is what you need. There's salt, pepper, seasoned salt, garlic salt. There's oil. There's rice, onion. There's an egg, tomato, carrots, potatoes, your meat. Cilantro, gotta have cilantro. And tomato sauce. Okay, so I chopped up one big tomato. That's about half a cup of onion. Some cilantro. This is gonna go in the meat. I used about that much cilantro. It's about, if you can see my hand, it's about that much. Let's say about a quarter cup. So we're gonna saute half of the tomatoes and half of the onions right now to start the soup. Okay, so this is in a couple of tablespoons of oil. You're gonna saute the onions and the tomatoes for a few minutes just to release the juices and to soften the onion. And then to that, you're going to add some water and the tomato sauce. The water depends. I'll use a measuring cup this time. I normally don't measure, but I want to have enough water in there to put the meatballs, the carrots, and the potatoes, okay? So we'll let this saute a couple of minutes. Okay, while the tomatoes and onions are sauteing, in the mixture you're going to have your hamburger meat, the other half of the tomatoes and the onions, a cup of rice, I just dumped it all in there, and the cilantro that I chopped up, which is like a quarter cup. To that you're going to break an egg in here because that's what's going to bind your meatballs. That, and then we're going to season it with pepper, garlic salt, seasoned salt, and a little bit of regular salt. Okay, it's been a couple of minutes and you can see the tomatoes and onions are sauteed nicely. Okay, I'm adding 2 cups of water, and I'm probably going to add another cup and a half. Okay, correction, that's 4 cups of water in there right now. And I'm going to add another 2.5 cups. So that's 6.5 cups. So that's about right. Okay, then to that we're going to add the tomato sauce and the seasoning. Okay, so now I'm going to add the can of tomato sauce. And that's going to give it the coloring and a little bit of flavoring. Okay, and then seasoning, and you know me, I like seasoning, so I don't know however much you want to add. So that's garlic salt, I don't know, it's probably a tablespoon. Pepper's what gives it the kick, so be sure you add good amount of pepper. Seasoned salt, a little bit of seasoned salt, that's like half a tablespoon. And then I just add a little bit of salt, like half a tablespoon, and then I'll just adjust it after. You want to remember you got to give it plenty of seasoning because when you add the potatoes absorb a lot of the seasoning. So anyways, we're going to let that go for a second, and then to that I'm going to add some sprigs of cilantro. Okay, I'm going to add the cilantro. I added whole simply because if you can take it out after. Although I put cilantro in the meat, this is what gives it that nice flavor. So we're going to let that go to a boil, and then once it goes to a boil, we'll let it simmer while we're making the meatballs. So I'll come back and check that in a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm right here at the meat, so I'm going to try and use one hand, being that I got to hold the phone with the other one. I got to add some more seasoning, just a minute. Okay, you don't have to add a lot of seasoning because we've already got it in the water. So I just add just a little bit of garlic, a little bit of salt, some pepper, and a little bit of seasoned salt. Don't be afraid to season. That's what makes the food taste good. Anyways, so now with the egg, I'm going to mix this all up. And I'll just mix it until I've got that egg pretty much all through the meat. And then after this, we're going to make our meatballs. So I'll just keep mixing that around. And you'll pick everything up as you're making the meatballs anyways. Okay, so that's pretty much. Okay, that's ready to go. Okay, so now I'm going to start making some meatballs. Okay, it's boiling now. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I already tasted it. It's perfect. I don't have to add any seasoning. Here's my meatballs. I got about 18. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start putting them inside of the meat. And let them start cooking. And what I do is I wait for them to be halfway done cooking before I put the carrots and potatoes in. I don't like to put them in right away because then they fall apart. So I let them cook about 12 minutes or so, depending how many meatballs you make. I've got about 18 here, so I'll let them go about 12 minutes. And then you can tell because you can see that the rice is cooking. Okay, so here's the meat. Give it a little stir. Got my rice cooking over there. Okay, checking. And as you can see, the rice is starting to cook in the meat. It's been about 12 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is I always add the carrots first. I don't know how much that is, a cup maybe, 3/4 of a cup. They're just these little ones, they were on sale, so I bought them. But I like to use just the baby carrots, just keeps you from having to peel and cut, dice. So you can add as many as you want, but that should be enough. Yeah, that'll be enough. So I'm going to let that go, and while that's going, I'm going to peel and dice the potatoes. Okay, just quickly, when I dice the potatoes, I don't dice them thin, because if you dice them too thin, they'll just dissolve. So as you can see, I cut it in half, and then I cut it, this way. And that way you got the thick chunks. Okay, here's my potatoes. And as you can see, it's just simmering low. You don't want it boiling, because if it boils, everything will bust. So what I'm going to do is I will put it a little high for a couple of minutes just till I get the potatoes in here, because the potatoes is going to cool it down. Okay. So there goes my potatoes. And this is 3 potatoes that I'm putting in. I like potatoes, and not only that, it thickens the juice, so it's not too soupy. By the time the potatoes are done, the albondigas will be done. I'll show you right now. Okay, stir it around. Looks good, looking good. I don't know if you can tell, but see, the rice is almost cooked. So we're going to let this go about 15 minutes or so, and then the potatoes, I'll check the potatoes. If the potatoes are cooked, it's done.